Okay, since it is now officially 11 o'clock, I would like to welcome Margie and Tricia and anybody else who will be joining us this morning for this very informative workshop about how to plant garlic, one of my favorite things. I have this beautiful, I don't know if you can all see this. I just bought this yesterday at Holly Hill Farm.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. This is a variety called Music of garlic. And I think one of these cloves is probably as big as the entire bulb that I grew last year. So Dave, I need some help from you because Margie and Tricia and other people who may be listening. First, let me tell you, I'm Cindy Prentice. I'm the executive director of Holly Hill Farm in Cohasset. And Dave Wentling is what we would call an expert at garlic growing. And John Belber from Holly Hill has just joined us. Hi, Johnny.
Hi, Cindy. Thanks for being the crew there with all the setup. Thank you, Cindy.
That's right. And I think that Johnny and Dave have both had a race or maybe a competition to see who could grow the biggest bulb of garlic. And I'm not sure it's ever been anything but a tie. So we're very lucky to have two expert garlic growers here with us today. And also to let you know that in my opinion, as a gardener, I'm not a farmer, garlic is one of the easiest crops you will ever grow with specific guidelines. So I would like to have our two resident experts who are in the Holly Hill Farm area, or Johnny who works at the farm, and Dave who has a beautiful garlic bed down at the farm, down below in the farm to food pantry garden. I'd like to have you start telling us all how we can successfully grow different varieties of garlic this fall. Okay, Dave, do you want to start? Or Johnny, you want to start? Who's starting?
I want Dave to start.
Okay.
Hi, Johnny.
Hey,
Thanks.
Dave, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little tired today. I'm a little rough around the edges. I had to work till 1 a.m. last night.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Anyway, today's my birthday, and I'm just going to celebrate the rest of the day. I'm going to start with you guys.
Thank you, Dave.
Happy birthday.
Are you going to have a garlic cake or anything like that?
Hey, that's a good thought, though.
Isn't it?
All right, so let me just start real quick with just a little bit of how I got into growing garlic. It started, I always liked garlic, but it started, I was visiting my mother in Pennsylvania a number of years ago, maybe 20 years ago now, and she's always had a garden. We grew up, we always had gardens, and I was looking around her garden. I said, Mom, what's all this stuff growing here? And she said, oh, that's garlic. And she said this guy, Italian guy, gave it to her back in 1960, and he made his own sauce, and he grew his own garlic for his sauce. And I said, gee, Mom, that's really important. It's like no one's ever messed with that garlic. That's like the real deal, you know. I mean, these days you can't trust anything in the stores. So I said, wow, I'm going to pull some of that up and take it home and plant it, which I did. And I had amazing results. And I was like, I just threw it in the ground, really. I didn't even make a raised bed or anything. And it came up really good. I had smaller heads, you know, but it was really good. And then I grew a bunch of it, and I stuck it in the basement, and it lasted like 10 months. And I was like, you know, my wife and I were like, holy crap, we never have to buy garlic again. This is amazing. And so then the next year I did it like a little bit, you know, I made a little raised bed, and the garlic grew even better. And, you know, I thought the storage end of it was like the best thing ever. But so then, you know, a couple of years went by, and I was growing this garlic. I was really proud of it. And I was turning my friends onto it. And I had like 10 other people growing garlic. And my friend Don, who's not on this call today, he and I have like a little competition. Every year we enter our garlics at the Marshfield Fair. And I won the blue ribbon this year. He won it last year. Oh, no, last year it didn't happen. One of us always wins the ribbon. So it's just like a little friendly competition we have. But so then a few years later, I was in France with my wife, and we were up in the Pyrenees Mountains, and we came across, you know, they have outdoor markets there, came across this amazing garlic display. I'm like, what is that about? It's gorgeous. It's like this reddish garlic. And later on, we talked to this guy who was putting this up, who was a chef, and he was like, went crazy about telling us about this amazing garlic. It's the heartbeat of France and French cooking. And I said, well, I've got to have some of that. So I smuggled some back in my suitcase, and I've been growing that ever since. It's called the Rose of Lautrec, the pink lady, they call it. And it's this amazing French garlic. I have some of it here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but this I probably harvested a little early, but the cloves are huge. And this I harvested in July. And these things are rock solid, just like golf balls. It's amazing stuff. So this is now my favorite type of garlic to grow. And I've been spreading this love around too, giving it to all my friends, but it grows really easy, comes up really fast, and harvests really early. So anyway, so I think back to the growing garlic, planting garlic, the best thing you can do is have good fertile soil and a raised bed. I think it's super important. Let me move my slideshow around a little. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. This is from that town in France. They have a garlic celebration festival there, and this is the pink lady, they call it up there. Fantastic stuff, just amazing. And the flavor when this stuff hits the pan, the nose, if you will, is just incredible. Different than any other garlic. It's amazing for cooking. Yeah, that's about where we got it. But anyway, here's a little shot of my blue ribbon from the fair. And that's my friend Don's. He got the blue ribbon the year before. It's lots of fun. This is really pretty garlic. The way they judge it at the fair is not by taste or size, but consistency from one bulb to another. Because back in the old day, they used to, the farmers would come and bring their garlic for people to buy, like stores to buy, and they all had to be consistent. So that's how they judge it. But it's nice. I had to put this one in because Don got second place. Okay, so soil. It's probably the most important part of growing garlic. And as I moved along in my garlic career, I learned that raised bed is really important because the roots of garlic grow straight down. And if those roots can grow easily straight down, you're going to have a really good large crop of garlic. So if you don't have a raised bed, you can easily make one just by getting some boards and screw them together. If you see somebody who's giving away a water bed, just throw the bed part away and use the frame. You can make a raised bed out of anything. You can cement blocks, bricks, whatever, just anything that'll hold dirt. So on something like this, I would really fluff up the soil underneath before I add my compost and soil, whatever. I use a ton of seaweed. I live in Hull, right on the beach, and so I have access to as much seaweed as I want. And I chop it up, and I guess there's no really, I'm sure somewhere someone will tell you there's a perfect way to add seaweed to your garden, but I just heave it in there year round. I just got to keep nourishing my soil with it. Dogs are barking, sorry. But yeah, any kind of organic matter, compost, super helpful. You want to get a nice fluffy soil with lots of good nourishment in it. Now Jonny has some really delicious compost over there at the farm that I believe they sell. Do you guys sell that stuff, Jonny?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Plug.
Compost.
Right
They
now,
were-
we sell Vermont compost, which is an organic product in different levels of intensity, if you will. And right now, we're actually having a 30% off sale on our bagged compost from Vermont Compost.
Hold on one sec.
Dogs are barking. Tricia asked if you could purchase Pink Lady garlic. That is something that Dave holds close to his heart. We do not sell that variety at Holly Hill Farm. Sorry, everybody, but maybe Dave would put it in our auction. That's something to think about, Dave. We can talk after the
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many varieties of garlic. I was kind of amazed when I just started looking around online, but I mean, your best bet is to get it from a organic farm like Holly Hill, because they grow everything. I mean, I've seen their compost operation. They're pretty strict about their soil, and so it's a real deal. When I first planted the bed over at Holly Hill, I said to Johnny, I said, "Oh, I'll go over to the Cohasset dump. They have an amazing pile of soil over there." He goes, "Don't bring that anywhere close to my farm." Basically, Cohasset people throw a lot of chemicals on their yards, and then they throw all their yard waste over in the dump, and they turn it over, and it's beautiful looking soil, but all the plant stuff breaks down, but all the poisons they put in it does not. So yeah, I got my hand.
I'd also be concerned about weed seeds from like garlic mustard, which many people know is a very terrible thing to have in your soil, where the seeds last 10 years. So I'm very concerned about where you get your soil from to eliminate the possibility of garlic mustard that you're bringing it onto your yard.
Yeah. So I was over at the farm one day, and I saw Janice coming out with this thermometer that was like 3 feet long, and she was measuring the temperature of the compost pile from the inside to make sure everything was. But anyways, they take their compost seriously over there. So
You do.
you want to buy compost, that's the place to do it. I'm not doing a commercial here for Holly Hill, but anyway, moving on. So as you can see, this soil is just really super fertile and soft. And I like to do a raised bed of like at least 8 inches, and then kind of rough up the soil underneath too. So when you plant garlic, you do it like about 3 inches deep. And like I said, the roots grow straight down. So you're going to want those roots to have an easy path to wherever they're going to, and then the bulb will be big.
Dave, could I just interrupt for a second and say, start with the bulb and then talk about popping that garlic? Because if somebody's new on this show that doesn't understand how you go from a big bulb to planting it, you might want to talk about how you have to take that bulb apart and how you put that little clove in the garden.
Sure. Yeah, I'm going to get there.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, this is the raised bed I have over at Holly Hill. That's just before we planted, I believe. This is seaweed, types of seaweed. There's different types. I don't use this stuff. This little hairy stuff because it kind of dries up like steel wool. I think that's what the pirates use to wash their dishes. I like this kelp stuff, and I actually bring buckets of it home and dump it out, and I've got a meat cleaver. I just chop it up when it's wet, and I just heave it in the garden, and or this stuff works pretty good too. But eventually all this stuff will break down, and it's super helpful to your garden. Oh, there's my meat cleaver. I had some neighbors look at me like I was a little nuts, but it's kind of therapeutic. Anyway, I just sprinkle it around in the garden, or and sometimes I'll do it in the fall, or midsummer, and then I just turn it into the soil. I don't have to rinse it or anything. You just throw it in there. Okay, planting the cloves. So this is the part that you plant. Now, Janice actually taught me something a couple years ago about growing, like if you had like the Rose of Lautrec, the Pink Lady garlic, and you wanted to keep that an exact um, genetic a duplicate of what you're planting, you would actually you would let your garlic go to seed, and you'd plant the seed that comes out of the top of the plant. Now, normally when we cut those off because it takes away a lot of energy from the bulb, but and we'd plant this clove. Well, I learned over years of growing this pink lady stuff is it's not pink anymore. And it's kind of adapted itself to my environment here. And it's kind of its own little breed, but it's rock solid. But if you wanted to continue to have that pink lady garlic, you would actually plant the seed that comes off the top of the scape. Now if you plant that, it's not going to be a full bulb of garlic in 1 year. It takes like 2 years for that to really turn into a solid bulb of garlic. So I don't have the space to do that. So I just go with the cloves, which you should probably do too. So you break them apart like this. I actually, when you have a clove of garlic like that, there's like a little crusty thing on the bottom there. You can see on the right hand piece. I actually peel that off with my fingernail so the roots can come out easier. It's just something I do. You can see right there, that's the little hard little pad that develops on the bottom of the clove. And I just pop those off. I don't know if you have to or not, but I do. And I have pretty good luck. I don't know. Some more cloves. Because I'm just getting ready to plant. Just sort all my little cloves and get ready. My friend Don plants a number of varieties. He separates them and marks the rows. He likes to have different, some of them are a little more spicy than others. You can do that too. It's really fun to experiment around. There's the pink lady. So I like to just, take a hoe and make a trench. And I place the bulbs, the right side of you see the pointy side is up. And then I just cover up the trench. Let me go back to this. So on that, you see there's a top and a bottom to this bulb. You don't want to put it in the ground upside down. So the pointy end of the clove goes up. Okay. See that beautiful fertile soil? I do mine about 4 to 5 inches apart. Some people say more, but I've got a kind of a small garden, so I haven't had any issues growing them close together. So I had some different varieties this year. You can see I did it in the fall. My kale is still growing there. I like to plant in December now. I mean, it's a global warming thing. I used to plant in October and I had no troubles, but I started planting in October and it started coming up in November, and then the top of the plant would die off, and I'm like, geez, I hope it comes back. So now I just wait it out, and there's still warm days in December around here now. So I like to plant later. I'm not sure what time they plant over at the farm these days, but kind of a sure.
The farmer said that it's way too early right now, especially with the forecast of a warmer than normal season this year. So we may end up planting, Dave, in December as well. So I do know there's a lot of very anxious gardeners who want to get it in the ground right now, but it's sort of like planting your tomato plants before the last frost. The first frost. You don't want to plant them in April because they'll die.
Yeah.
So your point is well taken, to wait until, the temperatures. What would you say, Dave? The outside air temperatures average about what? Well,
I like to get down into the 30s as long as the soil's still working. you can still move it around. It's okay to plant when it's really cold, I think, because it's just going to go dormant for the whole winter. And then early spring, when no one else has anything going in their garden, you do. Your garlic pops up first thing. Sometimes it'll come right through the snow. This French stuff I have comes up super early, and it harvests really early too, which I like about it. I use these old paint stirrers, new paint stirrers. Every time I go to the hardware store, I grab a few, label my gardens. So my friend Don is a little more anal about his planting. He has his garden all measured out, and he has these measuring sticks. I don't go for that. I just do a trench. So there's my bed. After I plant everything I just covered. This was actually before, I took these pictures before I even had a raised bed. Now I've got a raised bed. It's so much better having the raised bed. My product is so much bigger. And lots of times I cover it up with leaves, which I used to like grind them up and just make like a 6-inch bed of leaves and put it over the garlic, just kind of put it to sleep for the winter. Then I started reading some things about different types of leaves, like maple leaves aren't that great, which I have maple trees. Last year I went and collected oak leaves from someone else's yard. But I don't really know if you really have to do that or not. But it does add a lot of organic matter to your garden, which is always good, and it keeps the weeds down too. Okay, so early spring, you might see this garlic coming up right through the snow, which is pretty okay. I mean, it's getting lots of water. It's an amazing hardy plant. It can take just about anything. So here we are, early spring. Everyone else's garden is barren, and yours has all this beautiful new growth. Sometimes you can help it along with stuff like this. This year I didn't use anything. Some years I don't use anything at all, except just the organic matter. Seaweed. I think a lot of this stuff is seaweed.
Dave, is it necessary to change where you plant them year over year? Or can you plant them in the same spot? What's your opinion on that?
I tried that last year, and I didn't see it make a difference. I think as long as you're re-energizing your soil every year with something, for me, it's seaweed. You're gonna, because I guess, the whole rotating your crop thing is, that plant uses up certain nutrients. So you move it over here and move a different crop there. But I think as long as you're tending to your soil during the course of the year, you're going to be in good shape.
Good point. Thank you.
I would also add, if I may, this is John Belber at Holly Hill Farm, that Dave and Cindy might agree. Garlic is in the ground for such a long time that might be a case for rotation, because when one plants it, either November or in this case maybe December, it's in the ground till July. July is the harvest time, and so therefore, when a crop's in the ground for that long, it might be more likely to deplete nutrients. So I don't think there's any mandatory rotation necessary, but another thing to consider, depending on your space.
Yeah, a lot of it depends on your space too. Now, this French garlic, like I said earlier, it comes up really early and harvests really early. This is what was like early July. I was harvesting this French garlic, which is awesome because now you have that whole bed is ready to replant with something else. I put kale in there, and that's what's in my garlic bed right now, and it's like 5 feet tall. So you're gonna get a 2-season use out of that one bed, which is great. But I'm sure that the kale is also depleting the soil of nutrients. So yeah, you just gotta, if you have a composter, that's great. Not all of us have room for that. that's kind of the best way to help your garden along. Just have some kind of composter, and every year you can re-energize your garden. Here we are a little bit later in the spring, and people are just getting ready to plant tomatoes, and you've got like a foot-high crop of garlic right down the rows. The stuff is nice and thick, stemmed, super healthy.
Makes my mouth water looking at
I know.
it.
And now it's really kind of getting its legs and taking off, and the heat of the summer, it's really growing quickly. And the garlic, I mean, you don't even have to water this stuff every day. It's pretty resilient because the roots are growing straight down. There's a lot of moisture hangs out deeper in that soil. When the top of the garden may dry off, it's still moist down the bottom, but it's pretty easy crop to grow. Now, these things will start coming out. They're scapes. They're delicious to eat. And my general rule of thumb is when they curl around like that, cut them off. I take all of my scapes every year over to Bia, Brian Houlihan's restaurant in Cohasset there, and he does a weekend special with my scapes. And I'm sure you guys sell them at the farm. They're a delicacy. I don't eat the tippity tip of it. I just eat the stem. Sometimes I'll just throw them right on the grill, like you would asparagus or something, and just eat them. Or you chop them up. You can do an amazing saute with them. They're really flavorful. They'll get woody after a while if you get them when they're tender. Just when they curl around like that, they're better. But these things eventually will grow a seed pod, and if you let them stay on your plant, they're going to suck energy away from the bulb. So we cut them off and eat them. You can see them all in the rows there, curling around. You get a pile of those things, and they are really, really a treat.
We also have had recipes posted on our website for garlic scape pesto.
Oh, yeah.
Makes a delicious addition to any pasta or vegetable dish or on bread and so forth. Couple of questions that people are asking now, Dave. How do you deter squirrels or animals from rooting the garlic?
Well, that's another beautiful thing about garlic, because I've never had, and I have a squirrel house in my tree that I built. I invite them here on my animal gardening. They've never touched my garlic.
Good.
Nor do bugs like garlic. So that's a win-win there. So, aphids, nothing really goes after garlic. I think there is some kind of garlic beetle or something, but I don't know if we get it around here. You guys ever see stuff like that at the farm?
Jonny, have you seen that?
Well, there nematodes can get in and infest the garlic, and that has happened to some certain crops, but can die off over the winter. That's why Holly Hill Farm, when we sell seed garlic, as we're doing today and every Saturday and Thursday afternoon, selling seed garlic, we're buying that in just so we can better send home a product with folks that will not have any likelihood of that.
Is that a root bug or something, or does that affect the plant?
It affects the garlic bulb itself.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Exactly.
I've never had any experience with those, and hopefully I never will.
Good.
Also, Dave, one of our listeners has had good luck with certain varieties, but not with Turban Creole or a couple of those. Does it vary by variety? Would you recommend some varieties over another that do better, or what's been your experience?
I think it does. I think the reason I'm having such great luck with this French garlic, because it's grown in a cooler part of France. And I imagine if you brought garlic that was from Florida or southern states up here and tried to grow it, it may not do that well.
Mhm.
So yeah, different varieties are, in different areas. I'm not sure. Maybe Johnny knows more about that.
Yeah, not too much. I would just echo what you said about we are sourcing our seed from local New England farms as well as growing our own and then planting that again. Because it's such a great crop as you said, Dave, in terms of you plant one clove and you get a whole head of garlic. So that is a great increase in yield.
All right, so if you let your scapes grow, you'll get this on the top, and these are will turn into little garlic plants, and they'll fall off. This how my mother's garden stayed alive for all those years. These things eventually fall off, go into the ground, and make another garlic plant. But like I said, if you plant one of these, it's not going to be a huge, healthy bulb of garlic the next year. It kind of takes 2 years. So if you have a lot of space, you can do it that way. So here we are, we're getting moving along. It's turning into a garlic jungle now. Lovely, full, thick leaf. I have my one of my neighbors who's a vegan. She's 90 years old, been a vegan for 60 years. She goes out and she'll just grab a couple of leaves and chop it up and throw it in her saute.
Dave, is there a difference between garlic cloves and garlic seed? Is that essentially the same thing?
Well, I think they call it, like Johnny calls it, garlic seed. They're selling garlic seed at Holly Hill. They're selling garlic bulbs, and that's what you use as a seed.
Gotcha.
So I guess it's just
Yeah. So I was interchanging the phrases. If you can hear me, this is John again at Holly Hill. So the clove, which is part of the garlic, which is, down at the head of the garlic, right? Like Dave showed us. I call that a seed because that's what we plant.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Thanks, Johnny.
So as you can see, this is a pretty small space, and there is a lot of garlic growing in that small space. That's a lot of garlic, and I highly recommend you plant way more. You should plant way more than you'll ever eat, because you're going to need to.
The bulbio, that's the true garlic, which planted and called head.
Sorry, you were breaking up there, Johnny. Anyway, I was just saying that you should plant way more than you need. You should plant way more than you need so that you can have enough to plant for the next year. And when you have an amazing garlic crop, you're going to want to give it away to your friends. It's like the best gift ever. All right, so it was a tidy little garden that I have in my backyard. So looks like your plants are dying and you're just feeling terrible about it, but they're supposed to be doing that. And this is when you want to harvest. You don't want to harvest too late, because the bulbs will start to fall apart and they're going to want to start growing new plants. I'll show you an example in a minute. But if you have a bunch of garlic, you're not sure if it's ready to harvest, pull one up and have a look at it. But the paper that's around the garlic, the coat, the husk, I guess you call it, it's important that doesn't really break apart, and your garlic will store a lot longer if it doesn't. You can see everything will start to dry up, and you're getting ready to harvest. But if you harvest too soon, it's not that good either, because the paper doesn't have a chance to form around the bulb properly. So yeah, most of the foliage, I usually go by like 3/4, half to 3/4 of the foliage on the plant. It looks like it's completely dead, and then you're ready to harvest. But it seems like if you let it go too far, quickly, it'll start to break apart. The bulbs will start to break apart. You can see that one in the middle right there. So that's harvested too late because there's no wrapper on it, and the cloves are falling apart. It's still good and edible, but I always eat those first. But sometimes you'll get like a few of those in your garlic bed, but they won't store for very long. So yeah, you eat those first. As you can see, this is a beautiful pile of pink garlic. So I don't really wash them too much. Just kind of knock the dirt off of them and give them a little rinse, as I don't want to wash that paper wrapper off of them. Then I let them dry outside. I have this mesh screen. After you pull them, you want them to dry in the shade outside, never in the sun, because it'll start cooking on you. So I lay it out for like a week and a half, maybe even 2 weeks, to let it dry out before I put it inside. Now I have a nice cool basement, and I hang mine in mesh bags close to the floor in my basement. After it's dried out and cured, I cut all the stems off and the roots, and I just throw it in these bags, and I let it sit in the nice cool basement, and it stores them for a long time. And the stuff I have here is completely rock solid still, and this was harvested in July, early July. So, and I also make garlic powder, which is really fun. So because I have a lot of garlic hanging around here, and I'm like, I'm not going to let that rot. So I have a dehydrator. I chop it up, throw it in the dehydrator, and then I bought a little coffee grinder that I use only for making my garlic powder. So pretty much just throw the dried up crystals into the coffee grinder, and voila, garlic powder comes out the other end. And that stuff's so easy to use when you're cooking. Just shake it on there, and it's a nice clean product because you made it yourself, and that lasts a long time too. It's just like some of my harvest laying out. This is nice big bulbs. And, I just live here with my wife and myself, so we've got plenty of garlic. I've probably started 20 people growing garlic around the neighborhood here, and they all love doing it. And it's just a fun crop.
No vampires in Hull, right, Dave?
That's right. You can see those beautiful roots growing straight down. No hindrance if that, because the soil here is pretty crappy, it's clay and it's hard, and you're not going to grow garlic in that type of soil. So the most important thing is the soil. Some action photos here. Now this picture was taken a couple of years after I started growing that pink lady, and it's still pink. But now the pink lady is transformed into a not so pink, but it's kind of turned into its own little breed of garlic, and it's amazing. Rock solid. My friend Don, he likes to do this to his garlic hanging up. I don't do that because it might mold on you. Because you're tying all those stems together that aren't even dried out yet, and it looks pretty, you hang them up and stuff, but I personally don't do that.
Dave, isn't that the difference between a soft neck and a hard neck garlic? That hard neck is tougher to braid, and that's why people perhaps grow soft neck, that you can make those very attractive braids that you see in some farm stands?
I do not have an answer to that question.
Johnny, do you know?
Yep.
No, he's having.
Yes, if you hear me.
Yeah.
If you can hear me, I do not know if the farmers are selling soft neck or not, but you're right, Cindy. Soft neck is easier to braid. hardneck is stiff and hard and therefore very hard to braid.
Yeah.
Both, if stored properly, can last a while.
Thank you.
This is my friend Don's garlic. He lays it out and takes pictures of it, as we all do. We're also proud of our garlic harvest. You can just dry it any way you want. You can just throw it in a box, and once all that foliage is completely dried, you can just cut it. I don't know why this picture's in there, but oh yeah. So shallots is another thing that I started planting in the fall. It's also super easy to grow, very similar way to grow it as garlic. And I don't know why these things are so expensive, because they're incredibly easy to grow. So you might want to try that. At least a few, get a few. Do you sell a shallot seed over there at the farm, Johnny?
We do. We
You
do
do?
sell shallots. I know Derek said he and Sophia harvested some gorgeous shallots this season. I would have to check and see when they're available for sale, but I know that he grew a lot of them. They grew a lot of them beautifully.
Well, a shallot bulb is similar to garlic, and you plant one kind of bulb and it will turn into like 6 or 7. But also stores really well. My wife loves cooking with them. I've had these things store for well over a year.
Wow.
Anyway, something to think about.
Hmm.
Also an easy crop to grow. And here's the fruits of our labor.
Oh, wow.
Johnny, are you doing a garlic, cooking garlic on site over there this year?
Well.
I think one year we used to do this whole thing in person, and we would plant on the same day, but it was always too early. But a couple of times, I think they were cooking roasted garlic for people to eat. And garlic soup, I think, once.
Pre-pandemic, we did have a garlic festival, actually. We hope to get back to that as soon as it's a little safer for everybody to gather closely together, because with masks off and eating together, we can't help ourselves when it comes to garlic. That's just what happens. So
Sure.
we will hopefully get back there for next year.
Yeah.
Also, someone just wrote in that, let's see, it was Debbie who said she bought some shallots at Holly Hill Farm today.
Oh, nice.
Farm stands open Thursdays and Saturdays.
This is a real quick mini recipe here. I take a baguette, slice it up, put it in the toaster oven, take a piece of garlic, just like a pencil eraser, and erase it on the bread, on the toast, and then drizzle it with olive oil.
Mhm.
And you have the most amazing garlic toast. Takes like a second to make.
Yeah.
Ta-da. All right, I think that's the end of that. Oh, questions. Oh.
The proud farmer.
Fiend.
So a question is, will this recording be available for reference? Absolutely. Also, if you would like to email me, Cindy at Holly Hill Farm, with any additional questions, what I'd like to do is work with Dave and Johnny and just issue an email that would have the facts of what Dave and Johnny and I have just discussed, so that if you don't have to go back and look through the whole video unless you'd like to, but gives you more of a sheet to follow that would be directions for purchasing your garlic, how to plant it, how to grow it, how to harvest it and store it, and then of course, how to eat it.
It's a really fun hobby. I so much enjoy it. I can't wait to plant, it's so exciting. I mean, I'm just a goofy gardener. I'm not a professional, but somehow I ended up getting good at growing garlic, and it's just so much fun.
I think that makes you professional, Dave.
Okay.
That's right. Absolutely. Someone else just asked if we are selling soft neck garlic. Not to my knowledge, but I can find out and let you know. I tried it one year and I was not successful at soft neck, and I'm not sure why. It's hard to say. Do you know why, Dave?
Yes, we are.
Oh, we're selling soft neck? Thanks, Johnny. That's great. Is there a difference in growing soft neck versus hard neck? or
This is John. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Johnny,
We are-
they were asking about the difference between hard neck and soft neck garlic growing it.
No difference.
We are
Yeah, you must be down in the farmland somewhere.
Yeah,
the same. It's just a soft.
yeah, very frustrating. Sorry, Johnny. We hear every fifth word. Our connectivity in the tomato barn was knocked out this week, and that's unfortunately what's happening to Johnny's message.
I only grow hard neck garlic. I only have a kind of a small garden. And I've had such good luck with this French stuff that I mainly just grow this now. I don't even grow any of the stuff I got from my mother anymore. Because this stuff has such huge cloves. When you get if you're growing small cloves of garlic, you got to pick through them all the time. It's so easy to work with. I mean, look at the size of those things. It's great. And this is so good, so tasty. Yeah, so I only grow this. I tried one other crop last year and I didn't really like it very much. I mean, you can experiment around if you have the space, definitely. But another great thing about garlic is you can grow a lot of garlic in a small space.
Mhm. Can you grow it in a pot, Dave? I'm sure people would like to know if they could put it on their patio. Is that too hard for freezing and thawing of that pot?
Yeah, I've never tried it, but I don't think you really can. I mean, I'm sure it would come up, but I think garlic really wants to be in the ground,
So maybe a brave soul would do that. Looks like someone says yes in a big pot. So it's freezing and thawing in the winter and then making sure that it stays moist in the drier months before you harvest it. But
Yeah.
there's a challenge for everybody who's listening to try to grow 1 clove or 3 cloves or whatever in a big pot outside, and get back to us next year. Let us know how it worked.
I also water my garden with rainwater. I've got 3 55-gallon drums. And I think it really makes a difference. And for all of my crops, the rainwater. I mean, my kale right now is literally, some of the plants are almost as tall as me, and it's just, I haven't seen anybody's kale gardens do that. So I don't know, if you can use rainwater, it's way better than, especially if you're over there in Cohasset. I know that tap water isn't so great over there.
I agree with you about the rainwater, having rain barrels at my home as well. And I started to do an experiment this summer on my raised beds that I used rainwater and ones that I used the tap water, but then we got so much rain. It just blew away, any kind of experiment I was doing. So I'll have to try again next year. So.
I remember I used to work at the Music Circus, production manager over there, and the grounds guys would come around and they would water all the plants around the tent, and the water was killing the plants. So I was like, okay.
That's not good. That's not good.
The water was terrible over there. I don't know if there's made any improvements since, but
Oh, let's hope so. Let's hope so. Any other questions that all you folks who are so kindly listening to our workshop today? If you have any questions, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see that you can ask a question and then I can see it on the screen. What are your recommended hardneck varieties, Dave, other than the French one that you have and we don't?
Um, well, I don't know if I really have any recommendations because I haven't grown that many varieties myself. I kind of found one that works and I'm sticking with it. Maybe Johnny can answer to that. I think, there's probably different varieties that grow better in our temperature zone. But I don't know. I think you guys sell quite a few different types of seed garlic over there, Johnny.
We do, absolutely. I think we have, at least 6 varieties right now, and I didn't see the softneck when I was there yesterday. And the farmers would be able to answer those questions for anyone shopping at the farm stand about each variety. So some have a more pinkish tone to them, like your pink lady. And when you look at the bulbs, you can see they're pristine, they're grown organically, and they're gorgeous. So head on over.
I will tell you that beware when you're shopping for garlic in the grocery store. You see these little mesh bags
Don't buy it.
that hold like 6 cloves of garlic. They're all perfectly exactly the same. A lot of those are from Mexico or China, and they're actually sprayed with a chemical to keep them from sprouting.
Yep.
So it's just bad news all the way around. So I highly recommend, buying garlic in a place like Holly Hill or something organic.
Mhm.
I wouldn't mess around with it. You can't trust the food source anymore on this planet. So grow your own. Get healthy with garlic, right?
That's it.
Uh,
Right. Nancy says she's tried growing Transylvania, which has a sharp flavor and keeps very well. So there's a good tip for us.
Okay.
Transylvania.
I know my neighbor planted one called Tempest. That he liked it because it had a really spicy flavor to it. So you can grow different varieties, for different dishes you want to cook. I know that this French stuff is I don't want to say mild, but it has a really great flavor to it. It's not, intense. I mean, really good for roasting, and it's just a lot of flavor and not so much harshness to it at all. Yeah, you have to tell me about your auction. I'll put some garlic on there.
Thank you. I will call you right after our workshop. That'd be awesome.
I know one of the people watching today, Nancy, I'm going to be giving her some garlic.
Oh, good.
Thank you, thank you.
Chris, we all would like your, one, Dave. I mean, seriously, there's 12 people on this so far. So, I mean, what's 12 really? I'll leave that up to you.
All right.
And Debbie just asked off topic, can we offer an asparagus workshop next spring? Sure.
Wow.
Be Dave Wentling because he's our garlic expert, but asparagus is something that for years we had an asparagus dinner every spring. We had 2 probably 100-foot rows of asparagus, and it lasts about approximately 15 years in one place, and then it needs to be replanted. So we did our 15 years worth, and we do need to replant it at the farm. It takes about 3 years to get a good crop going. And each spring plant sale, we do sell a couple of varieties, the green one and the purple one. It just, takes up bed space. And it's a fascinating crop to grow. It's very easy, and you leave it in place.
After 15 years, the plant keeps growing, but does it not produce?
In our field, we had a terrible problem with some weeds that invaded this, not quackgrass, but something like quackgrass. And we tried to weed it and get it out of there, and we just couldn't. And the plants were not as productive. They just, over time, they live out their lives, I guess. Maybe someone who's more better educated about it than I am could say why it didn't last past 15 years. But that's what I've always been told. It's a long living crop, but it does have a finite life, like so many things. It's nature.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was out on the Harbor Islands once, and there was like this old structure out there, and it was an old home, and there was asparagus growing around it. What used to be the garden, it was still growing after like 100 years or something. So
Well,
I
there's a
don't
good
know anything about
variety.
asparagus, but I love to eat it.
Get that variety, right? Find out what that variety is. So, okay, thank you all so much for coming today. We really appreciate you and your interest in Holly Hill Farm and in growing garlic, in farming organically, of course, which is what we advocate all the time. Being good to our soil, as Dave said, is really the most important thing for garlic and for all of our crops. But if you feed your soil, you will feed your plants. It's a very simple, easy crop to grow. Like I said, in my experience as a gardener, not a farmer, it's probably the easiest crop I've ever grown with so much satisfaction. And as Dave mentioned, the gifts are wonderful when you can just give a handful of your bulbs away to family and friends. They really appreciate it. And you'll be growing more next year, believe me. You start small and then we all expand our beds a little bit to grow a little bit more because it's such a delightful crop to have in our home gardens. So thank you all very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you. Thank you, Dave.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jonny.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, you bet. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.